I absolutely love stories about time travel. Steins is a time travel story that has the most original, complicated and yet elegant theory of how time travel could work that I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing in any work of fiction to date. However, unless you pay very close attention or watch the show or read the visual novel multiple times, its elegance might elude you due to its aforementioned complexity. In this video, we will go over the events related to the overall time travel plot in detail. The story begins with the main character called Okabe Rintaro, who, after attending a presentation from Dr. Nakabachi, discovers a girl called Makise Kurisu lying face down in a pool of blood, presumably dead. Okabe then runs away in shock and sends a text message to his friend Daru saying that someone stabbed Makise Kurisu. Now, Okabe is an eccentric guy, and he and his roommate Daru like creating new technical novelties, such as a toy gun which can function as a remote control for their television. Among these novelties is their microwave, henceforth called the phone wave temporary name, which has been acting up. Instead of heating up food, the food sometimes comes out frozen, for example. The microwave is in fact a serendipitous time machine. Now, at the time that Okabe sent Daru the message about Kurisu's stabbing, Daru happened to be experimenting with the microwave with his phone attached to it. By sheer coincidence, Okabe's message is sent to the past. This causes the timeline, in Steins referred to as the world line, to shift from a so-called beta world line, where Kurisu dies, to an alpha world line, where Kurisu does not. This is also where the organization CERN, the equivalent of the real-world CERN spelled with a S instead of a C, comes in. CERN has been attempting to build a time machine in secret for decades, and has made some progress by using mini black holes created by their particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC for short. CERN has a system called Echelon, which scans for all time machine related data. It recorded the message sent by Okabe, which CERN will notice in the future, and this will cause CERN to change the past, leading to the cancellation of Dr. Nakabachi's presentation and thereby preventing Okabe from finding Kurisu dead. In a roundabout way, Okabe has therefore changed the present by sending that message, and then also notices the effect of his message. Only Okabe notices the changes though, since he has the unique ability of remembering previous world lines. Okabe is therefore able to realize that the phone wave temporary name is in fact a time machine. Hereafter, Okabe, together with Daru and Kurisu, experiment with the phone wave temporary name by sending multiple messages to the past. Also, Okabe orders Daru, who has considerable computer skills, to hack into the database of CERN, since rumors about CERN's supposed ability to create black holes has come to light. By experimenting with the phone wave temporary name and reading CERN's hacked database, they discover that CERN's attempts at physical time travel through miniature black holes created by the LHC were unsuccessful, because it led to the jellification of the human subjects due to the infinite compression of the black hole's supergravity. The LHC created black holes by smashing protons together near the speed of light, leading to extreme compression of mass. The black holes created are not ordinary, however. They are so-called Kerr black holes, which are black holes not with a point as a core, but with a ring as a core. Getting a black hole with a ring as a core is achieved by taking a regular black hole and then using electron injection, using extreme rotation at 2 points at the core, eventually making the core take the shape of a spinning ring. Whereas a normal black hole would not be possible due to the stretching of time to infinity at the event horizon. Due to the spinning nature of a Kerr black hole, its event horizon has angular momentum, and with high enough momentum, the event horizon will disappear at a certain point around the core, and thereby reveal a so-called naked singularity. In contrast to a regular black hole with an event horizon covering the singularity entirely, the core of a Kerr black hole can become observable, and therefore yes, theoretically even possible. It is postulated that a chain reaction created from the electromagnetic harmonics from combining the normal particle energizing function of particle collision of a microwave with the electromagnetic signal from the phone attached to the microwave's cathode and anode functions as a miniature LHC, creating a miniature black hole. And the television's electron gun positioned right below it, one floor down, injects electrons into it, stabilizing the black holes, causing their core to spin. The digital data needed to send a short message, up to 36 bytes, is small enough to pass the singularity in the short time that it becomes visible. Not only the combination of the electron bundles and electromagnetic fields of the microwave, cell phone and television, but also their precise settings are all essential components combined by chance, which led to the serendipitous discovery of the time travel ability of the phone wave, temporary name. At this point it is worth mentioning that Makise Kurisu is a genius neuroscientist. At her university it is possible to convert video data into nerve impulse signals. She had already published a paper describing the possibility of converting memories into digital data. She creates a machine that is able to create a full digital copy of all the memories of a person whose brain is scanned. This memory data would still be too big to send through the Kerr black hole, but by remotely using the CERN's LHC which Daru had hacked, it has become possible to compress the memory data into a small enough package to actually pass the Kerr black hole created in the microwave. These memories can then be imprinted on the subject's brain in the past by sending the data as a signal to their phone, which the subject would hold to their head when answering. In contrast to physical time travel, this process is dubbed time leaping. Time leaping, in contrast to time travel, avoids many paradoxes, such as the possibility of a grandfather paradox, since there is always only one version of the time leaper at any given time, and the time leaper cannot exist before he himself was born. During the experimentation, the world line is unknowingly changed even further into the alpha attractor field, away from the beta attractor field. An attractor field is an event or a certain set of events to which all world lines with the same designation, such as alpha, converge on. The concept of attractor fields is what makes the time travel theory in Steins gate so unique, because it means that some things about the past and future can be changed, though others not so easily. This because any event that is part of the attractor field in question can only be avoided by escaping the attractor field completely, which usually means altering the world line very drastically. As it turns out, part of the alpha attractor field is that Okabe's childhood friend, Shiina Mayuri, meets her untimely death. This is explained by Suzuha, a girl who has come from the year 2036, in an actual time machine which allows for physical time travel to the past in order to change the future. Suzuha's reason for doing so is that the future of the Alpha world line is a dystopia in which CERN rules supreme. This because of their invention of a time machine which they have used to control the world under a totalitarian regime. Okabe agrees to help escape the Alpha attractor field in order to save Mayuri. Using the time leap machine, Okabe is able to cancel out all the effects of the messages he had sent to the past during his experiments, by figuring out the contents of the previously sent messages and then sending another message to the past after it to cancel out the effect. For example, if the first message told someone to do something, Okabe's cancellation message would be something like, "Just kidding, as you were." When all that is left is to cancel out the effect of the very first message he had sent to the past accidentally, which had switched the world line from a beta designation to an alpha designation by deleting the records of it from CERN's database, he realizes what would happen. To escape the alpha attractor field and prevent Mayuri's death, that is part of that attractor field, he would return to the original world line, a world line in which, as he had observed, Kurisu had been killed. After agonizing over his decision whether he should do this, Okabe eventually decides to return to the original world line after all, essentially sacrificing Kurisu's life to save Mayuri's. After returning to the beta world line, a different version of Suzuha arrives once again from the year 2036 to request Okabe's aid. As it turns out, all world lines with designation beta have a future in which billions of people die due to the Third World War. The cause for this is a research paper on time machines written by Kurisu, which Dr. Nakabachi turns out to have stolen from Kurisu when she was killed. When Okabe goes with Suzuha into the past to try and prevent Kurisu's death, Okabe ends up causing her death himself instead. From this, he concludes that Kurisu's death is part of the beta attractor field, and thus an unavoidable result, just like Mayuri's death would be on an alpha world line. The only way to once again prevent Kurisu's death would be to somehow escape the beta attractor field. However, this would simply mean returning to an alpha world line in the grasp of the alpha attractor field and thus bring about Mayuri's death. Kurisu's fixed death on the beta world line does make sense from a rational point of view as well. Rather than the beta attractor field causing Kurisu's death, it would be more accurate to say that Kurisu's death is precisely what leads the world line to avoid the alpha attractor field. This because alpha world lines all have a future in which CERN rules the world, which only happens because CERN invents the time machine, which they are only capable of doing because Okabe and Kurisu's time travel experiments put them on CERN's radar, and as it turns out, CERN would kidnap Kurisu to force her to complete their own time machine. Of course, CERN cannot kidnap Kurisu and have her build their time machine if the first message to the past, which saved Kurisu's life, is never sent in the first place. Okabe, at this point convinced that there is no way to save Kurisu without sacrificing Mayuri, gives up on finding a way to save Kurisu altogether. This version of Okabe, let's call him Okabe 0, carries the heavy guilt of having sacrificed Kurisu, which leads him to eventually regain his resolve to find a way to save her after all. Together with Daru, he eventually invents a time machine to once again send Suzuha to the past in an attempt to help his past self, let's now call him Okabe 2, save Kurisu. However, Okabe 0 knows that this will, or rather should, fail, because Okabe 2 failing is what connects Okabe 2's present to the future of Okabe 0. Okabe 0 could not afford to undo Okabe 2's failing to save Kurisu, nor to undo Okabe 1 starting its journey through the Alpha World line. These experiences are precisely what has given Okabe 0 the motivation and resolve to eventually decide to dedicate his life to finding a way to save Kurisu after all. Once the continuity of this world line had been ensured, Okabe 0 could implement this plan to let Okabe 2 succeed in saving Kurisu in a second attempt by going back to the moment of Kurisu's death a second time. There too, Okabe 0 sends a video message from the future back to Okabe 2 containing his new plan. In this plan, deemed Operation Skuld, he explains that the beta attractor field makes it impossible to change the fact that Okabe 1 finds Kurisu in a pool of blood. This also makes sense from a continuity standpoint, since otherwise Okabe 1 would never have sent his first email and begun his adventure, which is an event that needs to occur for Okabe 0 to even exist and send his video message containing the solution to the problem of Kurisu's death. What Okabe 0 points out is that the attractor field probably only contains Okabe 1 finding Kurisu in a pool of blood, but that it wouldn't matter whether Kurisu were actually dead or not. After all, the original Okabe, let's call him Okabe 1, just assumed by seeing that sight that Kurisu had been stabbed and had died, which led to him sending the email saying that someone had stabbed Makise Kurisu. However, Kurisu being actually dead is not a necessary fact for the continuity of the timeline to stay intact. Therefore, even though Makise Kurisu's death is a fact in Okabe 0's future, it is probably not a fact contained in the beta attractor field. And so, on instruction of Okabe 0, Okabe 2 now goes into the past and makes sure that Kurisu is not killed this time and uses a taser to knock her out and his own blood to act as a stand-in for Kurisu's blood. This way, he has deceived Okabe 1 into thinking that he sees Kurisu lying dead and thereby obeying the required laws of the world, being the beta attractor field, though deceiving the world all the same, because he eventually was able to radically change the past and therefore the present and the future. Thus, by doing this, the world line's divergence changes and the one world line in which it is causally plausible for both Mayuri and Kurisu to live has been reached. It is a world line free from both the alpha and the beta attractor fields, and thus an as of yet completely unobserved world line in which the future is unknown. Okabe 0 had thought of a name for this world line, a name that doesn't really mean anything, it just sounds cool. He called it Steins Gate.